Marketing allows strategy to come to life. Fresh out of university, I just walked into his office and I said, I think we should take the car to the car show. You have to work in collaboration. To build your personal brand, you must show up.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Kind Regards podcast. I am your host, Zambia, and this week we have the privilege of talking to Bwalya Mundashi, the head of marketing at Zambia National Commercial Bank, which is the largest bank in Zambia and possibly the coolest one, as it is the only bank in Zambia with a podcast. And you know we love our podcasts around here. Bwalya has an innovative mind and a clear love for what she does, which we get to hear about in this two-part series. In the first segment, we'll discuss her career journey within the marketing world, as well as how to apply the fundamentals of marketing to one's personal brand. In the second segment, Bwalya shares a story about recovering from a career setback and the vital role mentorship has played in her journey. We even touch on how to navigate a mentorship relationship breakup when the time comes. Bwalya, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Zamiwe. Thank you so much. What a humbling intro. I'm happy to be here.
I could write paragraphs, but we'll keep it short and sweet. To get us warmed up, I have some icebreaker questions for you.
Yes.
Okay. What's the most interesting thing you've binge watched recently?
Oh my. I am such a repeat watcher. I rewatch a lot of shows. I've just finished Vampire Diaries for the millionth time since it aired. So I think I'll go for Vampire Diaries.
I'll try not to judge you on that one. Like, if you say the originals, I'd be like, okay. But Vampire Diaries and Elena.
I finished the originals before. Then I'm like, I might as well go back to the whole Elena story. So let me just start again. So I finished the originals, then went back to the Vampire Diaries.
Okay. What 3 words do you think your colleagues or team members would use to describe you?
Loud, energetic.
Love it.
Team player.
I like that.
And that's not an HR answer, by the way.
You really are a team player.
Yes, I show up for anyone when they need me. So I think team player.
That's lovely. And lastly, what's your favorite snack?
Poppers. It's this corn snack. And again, the power of marketing, which we can talk about later.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried it on a flight and I absolutely fell in love with it. It was my midnight snack yesterday. So Papa's corn snacks.
Papa's corn snacks. Okay, yes, I think I've tried those. I like them. All right, I think we're warmed up. So let's talk about your journey. How did you wind up in marketing? And could you please talk us through the process of where you started and how you got here?
Alrighty. So my undergrad, surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, was not actually in marketing, but more in a wider field of business administration. And I do love that that's where my career journey started because it afforded me a wide platform of choice, specifically that I was able then to start my career out actually in accounting and finance, then transition over into marketing. I was working as an intern, then as an accounts assistant, then a marketing role opened up at one of the world's largest tobacco businesses that are currently in existence. And I applied for a marketing role because that's where I felt I needed and wanted to be. I was always sneaking into the showroom of the company I worked for just to interact and see how the sales and marketing side worked. I applied for this role, and at my interview, the HR gentleman says, "Are you sure you're here for the marketing or the finance role?" And I said, "Marketing." And again, we'll talk about it where you get chances. I did well in my interview and I got the role. And that's how the marketing journey just went from 0 to 100. I was in a training program for 2 years that stretched me from trade marketing to insights to customer development, the whole 360 of marketing crammed into an accelerated leadership program over 2 years. After 6 years within that organization, moved into manufacturing cement, very different than now into financial industry, still within the marketing space. And I absolutely love the journey that has unfolded.
You've mentioned getting chances. What was your first stab at actually having a role in marketing? Was it when you moved to the tobacco company, or was this something that you got to have exposure to before that?
So it's actually very early on when I knew for a fact in my gut that marketing is where I wanted to be. When I worked as an accounts assistant, this was for motor vehicle sales company. So it had a workshop, and it was actually the Suzuki dealership here in Zambia. And I was back office. So you crunch the numbers, you do what you're supposed to do, you make sure the company's making money. But we had a beautiful showroom, and they would always do stuff that I was interested in seeing. There was a car show coming up, and I went to the marketing manager at the time. Again, fresh out of university, I had no clue about hierarchy and or how you go about pitching ideas. So I just walked into his office and I said, I think we should take the car to the car show. I think we should participate. I think we should sponsor. I had no idea about what this would cost and how it would actually work. And then he looked at me like, aren't you that girl from finance? I said, yes. Oh, okay. But what are you doing here? I'm like, I have an idea about the car show. I saw a flyer, I saw something at Manda Hill, and I think this is something we should do to just get the brand and what we do out there. He asked me for a bit more information and he gave it a shot. He had tasked it to one of the people in his team. And I did ask, can I come along? Can I tag along? And he said yes. And I started to get more and more involved in being asked questions around how we can show up. And at the time, I didn't conceptually know that that was marketing in its sense. I just knew that I loved doing that, like giving the business and the product and services we're offering visibility. I don't know if that's the best way to answer that question, but at that point, not knowing that that was really what marketing was about, product, services, showcasing them, showing up. And I was given a chance to do that. And more, I was involved cross-functionally within the marketing space. So it did feel natural that when I saw a marketing job pop up, that is where I wanted to go a year after joining that organization.
That makes sense. You realize you have that interest in marketing, you see the role, you go for the interview, they're like, are you sure you're in the right place? And you're like, yes, I'm sure. Okay. And what gave you the courage, or should I say, what gave you the audacity to go and advise someone regarding something you technically know nothing about?
I think it's probably my upbringing. I think it's a lot to do with my upbringing and the environment and people that I've surrounded myself with, because we were always taught to speak up. When you have an idea, there's always the element of, what do you have to lose? I remember my dad would always say that. What do you have to lose?
Oh, I like that.
Also respectfully. So the audacity now, looking at it now in introspection, is like, what the hell was that? I can't imagine someone coming into my office and telling me how to do my job.
Yeah.
But I'm so grateful that it was received the way it was, and they took a chance on this youngster.
You said something that I think is important. You said you didn't even know that that was marketing when you were doing what you were doing. Let's take a step back and define what marketing is. Is it just advertising, as a lot of us, kind of think of it, or what is marketing?
For me, I believe marketing is a combination of brand, is a combination of advertising, is a combination of conviction. It's the ability to turn a product, a service into something that you didn't even know you wanted. And ultimately, at the end, you feel like you need. It's watching Charlize Theron spray a scent on her neck and say, yep, I want to start wearing that scent. It's watching Lewis Hamilton take a sip of a Coke or a Fanta and say, damn, I need to have Fanta in my hands. So it's the power of selling, but in a more brand, emotive sense. It's the power of conviction, I believe.
To be honest, it sounded like you're describing the power of seduction.
It is. To a sense, it is. And interestingly enough, it's you looking at ice cream. I don't really eat ice cream, but wanting something that you don't even know that you want, or needing something, feeling like you need it. Remember, there's a difference between wants and needs. And the marketing makes you want things. You have 20 pairs of shoes, but you want another pair because of the strength of the brand, the way it's positioned, the way it makes you feel, the way it makes you look, the way it builds your brand, the relationship you have with different brands.
And how does this all tie into organizational strategy?
So I believe that marketing allows strategy to come to life. When we sit in strategy rooms, we talk about how we want to grow our presence, grow our sales, and ultimately grow revenue, because that's the only reason we're in business, right? We're in business to make money. Unless, of course, you work for an NGO where money is net, right? So marketing allows strategy to come to life. It becomes the enabler of bringing strategy to life. If you want to grow your sales, I will then tell you, this is what we need to do. Let's do a promotion. Let's build the benefits of this particular product to our audience so that they can see the need to buy it. So we're always answering the customer's need based off of the product that we're showcasing. So from a strategic perspective, marketing really then becomes the hand between the product and the customer to take the customers along that journey. I think that would be my answer on the strategy aspect.
I'm keen to understand how it works in the day to day or month to month, right? You will sit in a boardroom, have a strategy, and finance comes and says they want this, and sales say they want that.
So, with regards to how marketing plays a role within finance, within sales, you have to work in collaboration, because remember that ultimately your sales team has that face to face with the customer. So you can't develop a campaign in isolation of the end user, who is the customer within the organization, is the team from sales, and the customer being the end user of that particular product. So it becomes a collaborative conversation with regards to what are we trying to achieve. The end goal is growth in sales. I will then ask questions like, what makes your product in this particular instance unique from what we have on the market? I then go and look at how the market has packaged this particular product. What makes ours unique? Remember, sales is not focused on what it looks like. They want to get it out and sell it as quickly as possible. I then go back, do a lot of market research. And for you to be an effective marketer, you need to be aware and woke to what everybody around you is doing, but not distracted that you're in a copycat phase, but also how do you then penetrate the noise? I call it noise that's happening within your particular space. How are you visible within your particular space? So once I understand fully that, I then package it, make it key, unique, catchy, whatever it needs to be in the context. And it's very interesting within financial services, trying to make things fun and or relatable. So in that regard, I then take the need to grow revenue by 5% and put it in actionable steps and how we will engage the customer. Are we going to send them direct messaging? Are we going to do a campaign? Are we going to have something that they'll win a chance? There's so many different strategies and ways that you can then engage the customer. But it's a collaborative space where the sales team, the finance team give you an indication of what they would like to achieve. We go back and forth so that you create something that ultimately achieves the intended goal. I hope that doesn't sound like it's a lecture.
No, it doesn't, because honestly, I think it's helped demystify how marketing comes in and what they need to develop and make sure it's tied into the direction the entire organization is going. So thank you for that. We live in a time where personal branding is more important than ever. What are some of the fundamental marketing principles you think people can apply to their personal brands, career, etc.?
So it sounds so cliche to say this, but to build your personal brand, you must show up consistently. Coca-Cola wouldn't be the brand it is if it wasn't consistently refreshing with its crisp Coke taste.
Yeah.
Colgate would not be where it is as a brand if it was not consistent over the years. Your great-grandmother used Colgate. Your grandmother used Colgate. You are using Colgate because of its consistency. And as we show up as human beings, as brands ourselves, consistency is key. You need to be able to tie yourself to excellence. You need to be able to produce pieces of work that are reflective of who you are. And that I feel very passionately about. As a Zamiwe, how do you want people to experience you? That is your brand. It's not what you think you are. It's how people experience you. It's the refreshing, I love sparkling water. So it's the refreshment I feel after having a sip of my fizzy water, consistently refreshing. How do people experience you? How do you show up? Is excellence your forte? So you need to be able to, as a brand and from a marketing side, ensure that you're showing up how you want people to feel and experience you.
It's such a simple thing, but it's, I think, a very difficult thing for a lot of us to implement.
Yes, because I mean, we're human beings and inherently you will have good days and bad days. But in the line of work that I do, I will meet somebody for the first time a lot of times. And you then build interactions. So I meet Zamiwe on Monday and I was having a good day and my energy level is at 99%. I meet a John on a Tuesday I had a really horrible meeting. I haven't met certain deliverables and I'm horrible towards them. Guess what? John doesn't know about the Zamiwa experience that was there on a Monday. John will say, oh my God, I met the head of marketing from Zanaco and she's a nightmare. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So consistency is removing yourself from yourself and say, how will my brand, how will Bwalya show up today, despite having a flat tire this morning, getting to work 20 minutes late? In that moment, I am meeting these people for the very first time. What impression do I want to leave?
That's such a profound way of putting it, meeting people for the first time many times and just removing yourself from yourself. Yeah. You clearly have a way with words, which speaks to why you do what you do. I really like that.
I could go on forever. Please stop me.
Okay. One of the things you've talked about is collaboration. And I think that's a key factor when it comes to, personal branding. So you spoke about internal collaboration, right, with the other departments within the organization. How does one go about ensuring that they align themselves and collaborate with the right people? And I ask this because a common thread that I have seen over your career is giving us collaborations we didn't know we needed. For example, when you were with the cement manufacturer, you collaborated with the Zambia National Building Society. Or even now at Zanaco, you've had various events where you brought in people like Connie Ferguson, Vusi Tembekwayo, and now you have the Zanaco Green Innovation Challenge, which seems to have an association with Water for Water. So all of these aspects I've mentioned are quite diverse, but how does one ensure that they are collaborating with people, organizations that are aligned with their brand?
At the heart of every collaboration is the end user, the customer. What are we trying to achieve for the customer? And I'll go back to my time with the cement manufacturer. Is financing being a challenge, but building being the ultimate goal. Individuals want to build. Zambia is a nation of, I have a plot. I almost went into vernacular very quickly. I have to come back to my audience. So you understand the need of what people are trying to achieve. Is we're a nation that wants to physically see building blocks go up. And the only hindrance and challenge to that is financing. So you go to the market, again, alongside people that are experts in that field, because I'm not an expert at writing MOUs, but they are people that I worked with, that I trusted from a business development side to say, this is my idea. How does it work practically? So I will not take the full responsibility and credit for some of the collaborations, because it was a team of, this is what we're trying to do for the customer and how do we come together and how do we bring that to life and make sure that we're bringing value. So as I go out and get my financing to build my home, let us be that partner for you at a more affordable rate. And you're growing a business requirement. Revenue is growing, sales are growing, volumes are growing. But at the other end, the customer has gotten value from that collaboration. And a lot of the other collaborations really have come to seeing where we are and what the core values are for the organization. Zanaco right now is in a space where they're driving the sustainability agenda. So through the innovation and partnerships team, seeing that this is a core thing that the business wants to do, came up with the Green Innovation Challenge. My responsibility just comes to packaging it and showcasing it to the world to see the great things that the business is doing. But it's really the customer at the core. The Connie Ferguson, again, looking at her brand, we are celebrating women. The proposition that we have right now is focused on women, what they're doing, the impact they're making in society, and her brand in her personal life. And this, I could speak 20 minutes on just influencers and how you live your daily life, really, really aligns to our core. And it's really looking out for those people, those organizations that are aligned with what you're trying to achieve, where rather than seeing them as competition, you see how you can play on each other's strengths.
Interesting. Yeah. So focus on your customer and ensure that the messaging and the values are aligned. Thank you for listening to part 1 of this series. What better way to kick off the week than thinking of how your personal brand and marketing collide? We wish you a consistently impactful week ahead and look forward to catching you on the next episode. Trust me, it is not one to miss. Kind regards, Zamiwe.